What's in store for 2023? Well, we're figuring that out here today. Currently, I've got a clover plot over there that really kind of took a dump on me. And we got a brassicas plot over yonder. Worked pretty decent this year. Shot 3 deer down in this area. One which was a pretty decent 8-point. If you want to check that out, go check out my main hunting channel. Trying to figure out what I want to do here for 2023. And my idea this year is I want those long linear plots with cover around. So I'm in an area, I'm in a mid-ag area. If you watch Jeff Sturgis, Whitetail Habitat Solutions, you know what I'm talking about. A mid-ag area is that area where you got a lot of woods, you got cover, but you also got a lot of ag in the area. And so it can kind of be tricky to decipher and figure out what exactly you want to do because there's a lot of cover, but there's also a lot of food. So how do you make your property stand out over the 400 other properties in your area? What I'm planning on doing here this year is we're going to get that longer linear plot going. And I'm going to probably plant switchgrass and do some hinge cutting to create some really thick, good cover around the plots. And then we're gonna stage our tree stands accordingly. So we're gonna start the plot in this area. Obviously we have some firewood and stuff that needs to get cleaned up, but we got alfalfa fields out here. And you take a look, we got a lot of woods, there's a lot of cover, but there's also just a lot of this kind of just junk area, right? We got grass here that in the summer it gets super tall, but in the winter when we need it the most, it's not here, it's non-existent. We got some thorns and briars and that sort of thing, and there's a couple deadfalls that vines are growing around. But overall, there's a lot of waste space down here, and I want to really just amp it up this year. Big reason I want to amp it up. I got a neighbor right over here, got a property line that kind of comes down in that area right there. That neighbor over there, if it's brown, it's down, okay? High pressure, he shoots pretty much everything. He's got some really good habitat back in there too. So he gets a lot of deer, but he shoots pretty much everything that walks there. And it's frustrating because I'm trying to take my property here and manage the deer, but obviously in the area that I live, all the good hunting habitat is on the property lines because most of the property lines are split up in valleys, ridges, or creek bottoms, and that's where all the good habitat is, right? So deer are guaranteed to cross property lines. That is 100% given in this area. So I just got to figure out how do I better my chances, better the odds. How do I just make at least my property better and give myself a better chance of getting a big mature buck through here? Because it can happen. I shot a decent buck this year, which in my opinion was a pretty nice buck, but there's a lot better in the area. I know it. I got him on camera. So to make a nice linear plot, what I'm going to do is, right there's a tree stand, and the brassicas plot is right there, but I want to make this plot kind of a longer, skinnier plot. I want to bring it up through here, up to that field, okay? Up through here. We might kind of leave this, it's kind of mound of dirt. I might leave that there. We'll see if there's a dirt mound here. Anyway, I want to bring this linear plot down through, okay? And I want to kind of get away from this, more of these blobby plots, okay? Got a nice blobby plot here, right? But butts right up against the neighbors. And then you kind of got these thick spots. But what I want to do is bring this nice, green, lush, linear plot, a big C plot, travel it around and go up the creek, okay? And then in these areas like this right here and then around here, where in the wintertime it's just down grass, it's pointless, it's useless. There's no food, there's no cover, it's wasted space. I want to plant switchgrass. So that's what I'm going to do. We'll take that plot down through here, might make it a little fatter in this area, but over here, this area, up against the property line here, I want to plant switchgrass. Now we have a major deer trail coming out here, so I might leave kind of a gap right here so deer can come out, but I want to create kind of a buffer right here, okay? So if we can get the deer over in this area and maybe keep them here, we might have a better chance of shooting a bigger mature buck. Deer are always crossing the property line right here. It's a given. And I know that if I plant switchgrass here, we're probably going to have trails through the switchgrass, but it's open timber back here, a lot of open timber, and there's no food throughout that timber. I mean, there's browse and stuff, it's pretty thick, but it's open timber, and deer come out into this area where I have food plots. But if I can create a buffer right here and try to keep the deer over in this area, we might be in a much better situation. So let's bring this C plot down and around. Spots in there, let's get that in switchgrass. Let's get that growing up. Let's get it as thick as these spots right here. Create that really, really good cover. Maybe we can even put a tree stand in that right here at the bend. We'll have really good food, but also really good cover around it. That way deer will feel comfortable staying here, visiting here, frequenting this spot. We'll have a good scenario. That's a killing scenario right there. Another thing that I'm going to try to do is I'm going to do some hinge cutting. So right here, we kind of just got a lot of crappy trees, right? Black walnuts and just not high dollar timber. It's pointless timber. But there's a couple select trees here that we could do some hinge cutting and try to create some really thick habitat, really thick bedding around this food. And if I can manage to get these deer, the does specifically, to bed along the food, that'll open up areas on the other part of the property for buck to bed. And then they can come down, frequent this area in the rut. Does are bedding down here. Hopefully we have a good scenario then. I know buck are down here because we got scrape and scrape and scrape. Obviously they were from a while ago, but they're visiting. I know that for a fact. Here's another example of just wasted space. In the summer, this stuff gets super tall, but in the winter, it all dies down and lays flat. It's useless grass, okay? We need the cover in the winter, obviously, right? But we don't have it. And it's not food, it's not cover, wasted space. So if we can maybe pick a couple of these trees here, hinge cut them, get some switchgrass in here, maybe we'll actually have some bedding here. Then we can bring that C plot right down through here and right up to that point where that other tree stand is. And this spot right here, we've mowed this for years, but I want to get away. I want to stop mowing this, and I want to get some nice switchgrass along the banks here, bring it around. Oh man, I see a whole lot of potential in this area. So we have the C plot, right? And we have switchgrass planted all out there. A lot of sunlight, a lot of open space. There's a dead walnut there. We can get rid of that. A lot of open space out there, okay? And there's not a ton of trees to be able to do hinge cutting, so the switchgrass is going to play a pretty key role in the cover aspect of things. And we got plenty of room to plant nice linear plots up through. Coming up through here, this is where stuff gets a little bit interesting. We got some thick stuff over there, as you can see, right? Probably wouldn't hurt to hinge cut a couple trees, maybe a couple walnuts there, fall them that way. Wouldn't hurt to do that. Maybe also up in this area, could probably almost fall this maple here, fall that one right down in there. What I'm looking for is just kind of those lower quality, smaller, low value trees to hinge cut. I mean, you can see how thick this is, and you can see where some deadfalls have fallen, and you see how it gets really thick in here. And there's a lot of really small maples in here, okay? So we got a really, really thick canopy. It's hard to plant a food plot down in here. There was a spot over there. It opens up there, and I'd like to put a food plot, but the canopy is really thick. The idea, I think I might hinge cut a couple trees in here and try to get this area even thicker, okay? And then as we work our way up the creek bottom, this is a four-wheeler trail here, but we could utilize it as a food plot if we had to. I would more so like to put the food plot in here. So our main C plot would end about over there. That's where it was. Then it gets thick here, okay? But it opens up again right here, and I want to make the plot somewhere that direction. Problem is, kind of a ditch right here that lays wet. So we could have a plot kind of come like this. We could maybe add two fingers. It could go up that way and it could go that way. But then what we would have to do is we would have to do a lot of hinge cutting. Problem is some of these trees are really, really big. If I follow the trees that way, I can't plant anything there. If I follow them that way, I can't plant anything there. So we kind of got to pick an avenue that I want to go and then fall trees whichever way they need to go. On second thought, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring the plot, another C plot, kind of bring it around like this, up through here, and kind of curve it around there. And we could actually fall some of these trees maybe into this center. This is a real nice open spot. The problem is it lays really wet right here, so I can't plant anything there because it consistently every year lays wet. It's even wet right now. So it's a little disappointing because this would make a really good spot if it didn't sit so low. But what we can do, like I said, bring the plot around up in through here. And we got a couple trees here that we could fall them that way. We could do a whole bunch of stuff. Looking at it, there is a lot of possibilities in this spot. There's a lot of things I could do. I could make the plot go a lot of different directions. I just got to keep in mind where it lays low and where I can plant, where I can't plant. Could even plant something out there over that way. We just kind of have to look at the trees and figure out which ones we want to take down. I'm looking for, again, those low value trees, stuff that's kind of worthless, leaners, that sort of thing, stuff that's just not quality mature timber. One of the problems is we mow all over there down to the creek, right? I would like to just take a straight shot across and stop mowing that so we can have some habitat on this side of the creek. And that yard, it kind of just funnels into here. You know, it's grass, wasted space. There's some thick spots here, but deer don't really bed in that. It's just thorns, and it's not like a thick canopy that deer feel comfortable in. So I look at all this young timber here, and I'm thinking I could hinge cut it a lot of different ways and plant food. Like right here, this is a perfect spot to you know, run a plot through. Like we could even bust through that and bring a C plot down around right through here, maybe even work it out that way. This spot in particular is exactly where my buck came running down through. It was chasing a doe and it came down from that way, running down through right past my tree stand. So like I know deer are moving through here, and it's a creek bottom, so especially in the rut, they're using this as a travel corridor. So how can I take this spot and just really amp it up? Because it's almost there, it's almost a money spot, but it's not a money spot yet. It has all the ingredients to be really good, but now we just gotta mix the ingredients together so that we can just like turn it into a absolute mecca for deer. Like, it could be really, really good. We just have to put some time and effort in and bring in those really small, narrow plots. Like, I'm talking 8, 10, 12, 15 feet wide, just kind of these food corridors, okay? And then you have bedding and cover all around. Then you can have deer just staged all along this creek. I think this is going to be the spot that I'm really focusing on this year, like this creek bottom and that C plot. There's a lot of other habitat I want to look at, and we'll get to that eventually, but that's going to be our 2023 project. This is going to be the main one, getting that food in here and staging it up. I'm going to do probably buckwheat in the spring in some of those plots to provide some cover, broadcast brassicas on in the fall. But we'll see what I do for here. Like I said, I also want to do switchgrass in spots. Might even do a heavy forage plot, like maybe some of these plots down through here might do just heavy rye and forage and that sort of thing. So that's going to be the main plan. If you guys have any suggestions, leave a comment down below. If you want to learn how I'm going to do this, follow along, because I'm going to give you step-by-step instructions of how I do everything. Also, at the same time, I'm learning along with you guys. I'm not like an expert at everything, but we're here to learn. We're here to do fun stuff. We're here to experiment. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed, subscribe. If you want to learn, subscribe. If you want some consulting, email me below. Thank you for watching. See you in the next one.